Hello, Met fans. Welcome back to episode 14 of the Shea podcast. Mets take a major hit on the starting pitching rotation. Pete Alonso chases history. We'll talk about it now on the Shea podcast. What's up, guys? It's Vin and Lou here with the Shea podcast. Since turning the calendar to June, the Mets have a 9-3 record. Really good start here to the month of June heading into the summer. Vin, thoughts on this past week, and what topic did you want to highlight first?
Like you said, since June has got here, they've been playing great, 9-3. The elephant in the room is the Senga injury. Unfortunately, it had to be something with involving Pete Alonso's defense. We've talked about it in the past, and we continue to talk about it. And he's got to figure it out because we always thought at some point his defense could cost us a game here and there, whatever. But unfortunately, this time it cost us our best starting pitcher, and we kind of dodged a bullet because they got good news regarding Senga's MRI. And I know we talked about it yesterday, and I agree with what you said. Just shut them down till after the All-Star break. They're up, I think, 4 games or 4.5 games on Philly right now. They have a big series coming up with Philly. So, and we got reinforcements coming back. Montas is on the way back. Minaya is on the way back. So I think you shut him down, you give him that break, and hopefully he comes back strong. He came back strong last year before he had that other unfortunate calf injury. But we've seen Senga as a guy that this doesn't seem to affect.
Yeah, and it's a shame because this is the first time that we got to see Senga, and I really thought that he had his chance to not only be in the All-Star game, but have an opportunity to maybe even start the All-Star game with how low his ERA is and leading the National League in ERA. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Pete from here moving forward. Obviously, it's something mental. Obviously, it's in his head, and we know he has the ability to make the throw. But Vin, you've played baseball at a college level. You know what it's like. When you get the yips, it's just something that you got to try to overcome. And it comes with repetition, and it comes with, consistent practice. And we know Pete Alonso, he's going to put the work in. He's going to work at it every day. But like you said, we've been lucky so far that it hasn't caused an injury. And unfortunately, at this time, it did cause an injury to one of our best pitchers in the rotation.
And the thing that worries me about it is, listen, Pete's never going to be a Gold Glover. He's never going to
No,
go down as one of the best defensemen, first baseman in the game. But the thing that worries me about Pete is he's such an emotional player.
mm-hmm.
I hope it doesn't affect him in the box now, because
Now,
that's where it starts to get scary, because they need his offense more than they need his defense.
right. And what I question is if this continues to happen and this becomes something that Pete Alonso struggles with, and as he gets older, and let's just say we do extend him for 4 to 5 years into his 35, 36 season, can he just become our everyday DH? Can we
I
get a
think he
young
has
athletic?
to.
Right. Can we just get a young athletic first baseman who isn't a defensive liability and just make Pete the everyday DH, being that power slugger that he is? If his defense continues to show signs of decline, not saying that he is declining, but if this continues to happen, how fast will we see him make the move to the permanent DH? I mean, we need one. It's not like we're not at a need at a DH position. So that'll be interesting to see, moving into, if we do extend him and we do give him that contract long term. Vin, before we keep going, I just wanted to say, make sure we hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Make sure you follow the Instagram page. Vin runs the Shea Instagram page over on Instagram and TikTok as well. We appreciate all of you guys. We just hit a milestone on YouTube. We got our 250th subscriber. So we want to thank each and every one of you for giving us a subscribe on YouTube. Share the link with your friends. If you guys know any Mets fans that are interested in the podcast format, send it out. And we appreciate you guys. So I just wanted to give that a little bit of a shout out. And make sure we hit that thumbs up on these videos, guys. The more thumbs ups we get on our YouTube videos, the better our videos do. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And we just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out. So thank you guys. Vin, the next topic I wanted to talk about was Pete Alonso. We know that he just passed David Wright and becoming the second all-time home run hitter on the Mets, passing David Wright, and now he continues to chase down that number one spot. I believe he's 10 home runs away, 12 home runs away from getting to that milestone. We were talking about it earlier, and I don't think he's going to have an opportunity to do it before the All-Star break, but I think that week after the All Star break will be. If you look at his numbers, he's hitting a home run about every 4 games. So if you kind of average that out, it takes us to like the end of the July. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets on a hot streak and he's able to put up 4, 5, 6 home runs here coming up this week, or is he gonna have to wait till after the All Star break to push him over the edge?
Well, I mean, with him, it's only a matter of time, right? It's
Yeah, I mean it's a
when
lock. He's gonna
he
do
hits
it. It's just a matter of when.
yeah, when he hits home runs and he gets on one of those streaks, that his home runs seem to come in bunches. Um, it'd be cool to see him do it at home. I
Yeah.
know, David Wright was on the West Coast when he did it, and,
Mhm.
it's gonna be cool to see Daryl, and it's a milestone that we didn't get to see when Daryl did it
No, of
because
course.
of when he did it, and, we got to see Piazza and Wright climb the ranks, and now to have a guy who came it would've been cool for, somebody like Piazza or, who knows, maybe eventually Soto is the guy to take down Pete if he doesn't sign another contract here,
Right.
but for now, living in now, it's nice to see a homegrown Met do something like this, and he's gonna take down every offensive stat that they have.
Yeah.
RBIs, home runs, probably extra base hits. So it's cool. Like we said, it's only a matter of time when he does it. Hopefully he gets to do it at home in front of the Mets fans. And we'll definitely, be on Instagram or do something when he passes Daryl.
Absolutely, and I think David would have eclipsed Darryl in terms of being the number one home run hitter in the franchise history. Unfortunately, with his injuries, we all know his injury history at the end of his career. It shortened his career. But not only his injuries, I think if he stayed at Shea his whole
Yeah.
career, he would easily would have passed it. I mean, he was
Well, he's
put on
only he's only 10 behind him.
I know he would have definitely passed. If he stayed healthy, he would have blown by it. But listen, we're excited for Pete. I'm a big Pete guy, always have been. I think he is as a true Met. I mean, it's David Wright. I mean, it's David Jose, and then probably him as true Mets that we've seen come up. So it's been really cool to see. I hope we're able to sign him long term. I would love for him to keep adding to that record. And then, like you said, I think Soto 15 years is a long time, man.
Right.
I think he absolutely has the opportunity to catch Pete and move on from Pete. So we're excited. I think that's going to be something fun to watch as the summer continues to go on. We will definitely be counting down as the home runs continue to come. We'll probably start with the countdown at 10 and check out for those reels and Instagram posts to come as the home run chase continues. Then one other thing I wanted to talk about, another big day coming up here at Citi Field is the retirement of the number 5 for the captain, David Wright. I mean, a lot of news has been circulating. A lot of people have been talking about it. Other friends that have podcasts that we know continue to talk about it as well. A lot of people are speculating that David Wright is going to be the one that passes the torch to Lindor and really makes it a moment in Mets history that I don't think we've ever seen before in terms of like problem circumstance and like having a big moment at a stadium and really celebrating our history and who we are as a franchise. And everybody loves David, especially our generation and people around our age. And I think even the younger community can appreciate how great David Wright was. But having him be the one to say, listen, your teammates agree, your manager agrees. We all know that you are the face of this franchise. I'm handing you the captain's patch. I think that would just be a moment to have at Citi Field, and I don't think we've ever seen something like that before. But I think that's what's going to happen here.
I mean, that'd be a really cool moment. I know, from time to time, you see it, and the captains of the Mets in the past, Keith Hernandez, John Franco, David Wright, they seem to have, like, this, like, camaraderie within them that not many people get to have that honor of being a captain of a Major League Baseball team, and, it's not like football where each side has 4 or 5 different captains.
Hmm.
And I think it really speaks to the kind of person, not even the baseball player, the kind of person that Lindor is. That when we saw his first year here, it was like, did we make a mistake trading for this guy?
Hmm.
Can he handle New York? We saw not even just the struggles, but when Baez came over, the stuff between Lindor and the fans, and as a person to pick yourself up from that, especially in New York, this isn't Colorado or Milwaukee. This is the big time. So I think it speaks to the kind of person Lindor is to not only become the captain of the Mets, but basically put himself in the driver's seat with very select few guys now. When you look at Judge and Brunson, where these guys run New York when it comes to that platform, and good for him because Lindor's a very easy guy to root for. Soto came out a few days ago or a week ago, whenever it was, and said, after every game, Lindor's at everybody's locker talking to the guys, and he's we've talked about it like at nauseum now. He's more than deserving of being the captain. He is the captain.
Yeah,
There's no question. He's the captain of this team. We go as he goes, even with Alonso and Soto. We go when Lindor goes.
right.
So
And
it'd be an awesome moment. I think they should do what you said.
yeah, and I think he really I think what put the icing on the cake for Lindor to get that acknowledgement was what he did last year in the playoffs and
Absolutely.
down the stretch of the season. I mean, the guys really rallied around him, and he took us to the playoffs and single handedly in Atlanta, and then what he did in the playoffs. So yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see. I think that's July 19th at Citi Field, a day before my birthday. So that'll be fun to hopefully go to. Prices are a little steep right now, but we'll see as the summer goes on if those prices continue to come down a little bit on the secondhand market. If we can get there, that'd be really cool for us to cover. That'd be a cool topic for us to cover at the stadium. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely talk about it.
You brought up the home run he hit against Philly, and you've been watching the Mets. Basically, we've been watching the same amount of time. And when it comes to the playoffs, that's got to be as big a home run that we've seen. I know the '86 Mets and the earlier '90s, and there was the later '90s. There was some big ones, but when it comes to the playoffs, you look at that home run. It's right up there with the biggest. And maybe you put Todd Pratt in
I was just
there.
about to say that. Yeah, Todd Pratt.
Yeah, you gotta put him in there. I mean, just given the circumstances, I put David Wright's World Series home run just
Yeah,
because of who
first
it is
time.
and what he came back from.
Hmm.
But that grand slam against Philly is, like, right up there in Mets history in
Oh,
the
it has to be.
postseason.
It has to be. And I think just like the build up to that moment, especially in that game, like
In that
we
game.
in that game we had guys on base the whole game and we just couldn't push through. And then for him to be the guy to finally break through that wall and give us the lead, and at the end of it give us the win in that game,
Against
that was
Philly.
again, of course, against Philly. So yeah, man, we're looking forward to it. I know once I don't think he'll have the actual like old school. Not that many teams do that anymore. They put the C on the jerseys, not in baseball anyway. But I hope David's the one to give him that acknowledgement and pass down the torch to him. I think that'll be a really cool moment, and I think that's something that Keith will be able to highlight in the booth as well. Being the captain of that '86 team, and like you said, it's kind of like a fraternity that they have. Like there's not that many of them, in Mets history, but that's something that those guys will be able to talk about and relate to, for the rest of their lives. And that's something. It's really cool to see that Keith still interacts with those guys. Even the younger guys now. So yeah, it's gonna be a really cool moment, and I trust Steve. I think Cohen knows exactly what he's doing. I think that will make whatever the price is to get in, that will be the worth price of admission. So it'll be a really cool moment, and we're excited for it. We're excited for the summer. So two cool things to look forward to. Like I said, Vinny and I are going to be highlighting it on Instagram and TikTok as the summer goes on. We will talk about the home run chase, and we'll talk about we'll see if David Wright is able to pass the baton to Lindor for the captain's patch. Looking forward to the week ahead here, Vin. We had a tough loss last night versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Once again, leaving a lot of men on base, as that continues to be our Achilles heel offensively. We leave a ton of guys on base from day to day, and our young hitters are still beginning to struggle. I know we were all excited to see Ronnie Mauricio get called up, but he's been shaky, to say the least.
Lost.
Yeah, he's been shaky to say the least since coming up. But last night, he looked absolutely outmatched last night. Vin, thoughts on the series that we had versus the Rays so far?
That at bat in the ninth inning was one of the worst at bats I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, he had no idea what was coming to him. He had no idea what was going on.
I mean, listen, we know Tampa's a good team. They're
Yeah,
always gonna be right in the playoff mix, but I think the frustrating thing is, and I kinda had mixed emotions about this. I get them wanting to work Clay Holmes, lighten his workload a little, being the fact that he is coming from being a bullpen arm. And I'm very, on the fence about this when it comes to somebody like Paul Blackburn, because Mendy had Brazoban warming up last night and Blackburn hasn't pitched. It's easy, to Monday morning quarterback this situation. Why didn't he go to Brazoban? Because we know the results now, right? That Blackburn gave us.
right,
He had a terrible sixth inning. But on the same side of it, I look at it and it's like, Paul Blackburn, you're a major league pitcher, man. You've been handed a 4-run lead in a clean inning. Do you have to go out there and load the bases with nobody out and
yeah,
completely implode? Okay,
right,
give up 2 runs. Limit
yeah,
the damage. Do you have to? And then Kranick just threw fuel on the fire with giving up the home run.
Yeah,
and this is something we talked about. I don't think this is going away. I think this not to this extent of bad, because I'm not gonna put Paul Blackburn, I'm not gonna lump him in with Brazoban, who's been awesome, and Diaz, who found it. All the guys in the bullpen have been good, but when some of these guys come back down to earth, and we like I said, we spoke about it, we're gonna need help in the bullpen.
absolutely.
And I think you gotta start pinpointing guys that you're gonna target. I would love Aroldis Chapman in this bullpen.
Hmm.
He solves 2 problems. He's a lockdown guy at the end, and he's a lefty. I put it on Instagram. I love Jake Bird from Colorado. He's not what purpose is he serving in Colorado? And I'd have to look into it, but I don't know. I know they sent him down earlier in the year, Pittsburgh, but Bednar is another one that I'd be interested in.
Hmm.
I think you gotta start finding guys that really lock down the end of games, because looking into the future, when we're in the playoffs, and I fully expect to be in the playoffs, you don't get starters going 7 innings anymore in the playoffs.
No,
Like,
never.
I think you gotta, really build a bullpen that's gonna shut down games.
Absolutely. And not even in the future, Vin. This next week and a half is going to be a major timeline in our season. I mean, we have Atlanta for 3, Philly for 3, and then Atlanta for 4. So we can really push Atlanta down, or Atlanta, we could give Atlanta a window to come back into this thing. So,
Yeah.
these next, 8 to 9 games is going to be interesting to see how that bullpen continues to either perform at a high level or continue to spiral here, from what we've seen the last 2 nights. So I think you're absolutely right. I agree with you with the Aroldis Chapman move. I love Chapman. I've always loved Chapman. He solves 2 problems. Like you said, he is a power throwing lefty, and we all know his record with his ability to shut down games in the 8th and 9th inning. So it'll be interesting to see if we could work a package for him and Duran, because I know Duran, we spoke about that on last episode, that Duran's name has been thrown around in a ton of trade rumors recently. Having Duran and Chapman come over for whatever package of prospects you want to talk about, I think you got to pull the trigger. We saw this. What year was it, Vin? What year was the Vogelback deal and Darren
Oh
Ruff?
my god, was that 22?
22. We were the best team in baseball. They didn't do anything in the deadline. We fell short. If we're playing this well throughout the summer and we get to the deadline, you got to put all chips on the table and go for it. Um,
Absolutely. You know what I think was funny about that deadline? We actually got worse at that
yeah,
deadline.
no, as much mojo as this team has now, a bad deadline can ruin that. You-
Absolutely.
And I think that's what happened back then. And I don't want that to happen now. But I think that Cohen learned from that. I think that he knows that when and where he can make his move and pull the trigger on certain deals. I've gained complete trust in David Stearns. I know I was skeptical in the beginning about him, his philosophies about not investing in pitching. But how can I doubt what he's done over the last 2 years? So I think that I trust Stearns completely to go ahead and make the right moves. But you got to pull the trigger. You can't be, in my opinion, Vin, we agree with this, just being Bowman guys, from our time in the hobby. You got to be willing to part with your prospects when the right guy's on the table. And I think for this team right now, in the position we're in, being 19 games over 500, you need a center fielder every day. You need a bullpen arm every day. I think Boston is the perfect trade partner for us at this time. And I think Boston won't mind sending us 2 guys because Boston needs some help both financially and they have other spots to fill with the superstar prospect like Roman Anthony coming up through their system. So I think it goes hand in hand. I think it would be the perfect fit for us at the deadline. So I think we will both be excited if that trade actually goes down.
And I think, it sucks because I was actually just talking to somebody about this before we came on today. If could you imagine, how do I say this? We won't trade these guys now, and I almost feel like, and I hope I'm wrong. I'm not saying this. It's not like I spoke to anybody and know this for a fact. It's almost like they're scared of a repeat of PCA.
Well, we said that the last episode. I mean, but it happens in organisms. But like I said, knowing that Cohen and Stearns saw that, I think that Cohen and Stearns both know that they have to be smart and strategic now when trading for these guys. I mean, the Javier Baez thing, trading that good of a prospect for a rental, I don't think Stearns will ever do that. But you have years of control with Jaron Duran coming over to the team, knowing that Nimmo can no longer play center field, knowing that Soto is a defensive, I don't want to say liability because he's been okay this year, but he's not the greatest defensive right fielder. Having a guy like Jaron Durant in center for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, depending on how many years of control he has, is a move to make for a young prospect. So I think that I trust them. I think they'll be fine. And if they make that move, I think that will put us, in good shape heading down to the playoff position.
Yeah, I would love something like that. I mean, you get a guy who could it seems like they've been looking for a two-hitter. It depends on how they would feel about the two lefties back to back. I mean, in today's game and what these guys see, I wouldn't mind it
I
if
mean,
you
they're
could have
batting
a top 4 of
they're
of
batting Ni-
Lindor.
they're batting Nimmo back to back with Soto right now.
If
So
Yeah, you're right.
you know, I mean,
If
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 you
you have
do,
that 4, Lindor, Duran, Soto, Alonso,
or if we know how we feel about Nimmo, but if Nimmo continues to hit out of the two hole because he has the protection of Soto, do you go Lindor, Nimmo, Soto, Alonso, then Durant? Put Durant behind Alonso at the 5 hole.
I
So
think you could do either one.
it lengthens the lineup. It puts less pressure on the young kids to perform at a high clip, which they haven't done. Beatty's been a little bit better this year, but he's been inconsistent. Vientos is obviously on the IL right now, and Acuna had just been really offensively. Acuna hasn't been great. Obviously, defensively and what he does on the base paths, we love it. But if he wants to get on the field, he has to start hitting. So I think that the Ren move would be the move to make at this point in the year, heading towards the deadline.
And I think
Um,
that's a deal that I know I'm gonna catch some shit for this. I think that's a deal that if you have to, like we talked about it, you include McNeil in it.
yeah,
McNeil's turned it on lately, and I get that, but
yeah,
it seems like now more recently because we have the Instagram and the TikTok and everything, me and you get to really interact with a lot of Met fans
yeah,
more than before, and guys only wanna trade people when they suck or when they're down. That's not how this works.
right.
And McNeil has turned it on, and I will give him credit because me and you have been, two of the big McNeil uh haters in the group. Listen, reality is he's 33.
Hmm.
So this isn't a guy that's going to be around for the next 6, 7, 8 years hitting 320, 330. I
No.
think right now, if you have a chance, and this is all hypothetical, but I'm going to talk about this trade package because it's what we've brought up. If
Hmm.
it's a Duran and Chapman and McNeil is a guy that they look at as we could use him now
Hmm.
and he can help us compete now. And then you get, I don't know, a Gilbert and maybe a pitching prospect, whatever it is. But I think giving them back a major leaguer that can still help them in the present. If McNeil's that guy, bye.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at the Boston roster now. Their infield, I mean, they have a young kid in Christian Campbell who they are very high on at second right now. But I don't see the guy that would knock McNeil out of their lineup at this point. I mean, they got Trevor Story, he's on the older side. Abraham Toro is a nice player, but like you said, if you trade him high and he has the value for Boston to play every day of being a lefty hitter, send him. I have no problem with that, especially the fact that I think he has one more year of control on his contract, and then he has a team option his last year on the control. So even if he goes to Boston, it allows them to play him every day. If one of their younger kids is able to progress at the pace that they want, then they just don't pick up his option that last year in his contract, and then he goes on their way. Then Boston can put in one of their young kids. So I agree with you, Vin. Listen, since his batting title, and we've seen since he changed his approach to more of a launch angle approach and get the ball in the air and, try to, I don't want to say hit home runs, but just change his approach that he had from when he won the batting title. He hasn't been the same player. It looks like he's going back to those things now where he's really slashing the ball the other way and getting on base. But like you said, if that's an opportunity, if that opens the opportunity for us to trade for a major need on this team, you do it. You do it.
And I also think McNeil's the type of guy that goes to the AL East and could terrorize stadiums there. You got Yankee Stadium, which he'd be playing in. He'd be
Yeah.
playing in Boston.
Yep.
Toronto's a dome.
Yep.
Baltimore's a very short right field. So I think you look at
Yeah.
something like that, and I think McNeil's the perfect fit for somebody like Boston.
Yeah, and I just don't understand. Like, I know Met fans are very attached to our guys. Like, we love our prospects, we love our guys. But at some point, you just gotta cut the knot and let the guy go. I mean, even if it's for a guy like Acuna to get more at bats to see him progress, I mean, you do it. So I agree with you, Vin. I think the McNeil, in our opinion, McNeil's time, it's coming to an end. So if you can end it in a trade that gets you two major pieces back for a playoff push, you make the deal. You
And you
make the
get
deal.
younger.
Sorry for the technical delays, but we just wanted to wrap up. Yes, so that is the trade that Vinny and I would like to see as the trade deadline comes to a near end here. We want to see the Mets go ahead and pull the trigger on hopefully Jared Duran and Chapman, but just make the move that's going to put us in a positive position in the second half of the year and not like we did a couple of years ago and really damper the season. So we both trust Stearns. We both trust Cohen to go ahead and put us in a position to win the second half of the season. But Vin, I know you wanted to kind of shift gears on and you wanted to talk a little bit about Juan Soto and how he's starting to heat up over his last 10 games. So your thoughts on Soto over the last couple of weeks?
So I have his numbers here. His last 15 games, he's hitting 346 with 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, and his OPS is 1219.
Yeah.
We spoke about it, and it was frustrating in the beginning of the year, but Juan Soto is Juan Soto. It was only a matter of time. But like we said, it would have been nice for him to come out early in the year and this is our guy now, and just tear the cover off the ball. But Soto's the type of guy that we all know when he gets hot, there's no stopping him. And he's one of the rare guys in the game that when he gets hot, he could hit 346, 350, but he'll still take his walks. He don't care.
No.
If you're going to throw him 4 balls in a row or walk him in an at bat, he'll take it. And I listen to the fan a lot, and the Yankee fans are like hating that he's starting to get hot now. And it's like, man, what did you expect from this guy?
No, I mean, not only that, like I heard on the fan also that the MLB and the Players Union do like a anonymous voting for like or like different like polls throughout the season, and his peers or his the players that he plays with voted him the one guy that they don't want to see in the batter's box with the game on the line. I mean, he's respected amongst his peers. He's a superstar in the game. We knew he was gonna hit. I knew he was gonna hit. You didn't think you hated
I
it in
knew
the
he was
beginning.
gonna hit. I was just getting frustrated.
You hated it in the beginning. But we knew this was gonna come, and I just think that Met fans are going to see over the next, even in his prime years, so it's like 8 to 9 years moving forward, how great this guy really is and how good he's going to be for our team. He's not the guy like Lindor. He's not the vocal guy like Lindor, so we're not going to get the sound bites or the mic'd up moments or, that kind of stuff. But he's a guy who's going to post every day. He's going to be there every single day. And he's just going to be great. So I think Soto, what he's doing and what he's going to do, heading into the summer is going to be absolutely amazing. Slow start, fast finish. That's all that matters. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So,
I just want to comment on what you said because I think you brought up a good point, and I don't know if you realized it. I think the Mets are in a situation now when you look at the veterans, when you look at Soto, you look at Lindor, and you look at Alonso. They have 3 guys that play every day. They
yep.
play through injury, so I think that's big for the young kids coming up, and to have guys like that to follow. Where Lindor's playing right now with a broken toe.
Mm-hmm.
We see guys in baseball, they wake up and their finger hurts and they're out 4 to 6 weeks. So I think, guys like that, I don't think you could speak enough to the magnitude. Like when you have veterans that will play and show up every day, that's big for an organization. And guys of that stature, it's not average veteran guys. These are 3 top of the line guys in the game that show up and play 150 to 155 games a year.
That's the main reason why I want the Mets to give Alonso his money and to extend him. I know he's not going to pan out well long term defensively, but what he brings to this team, the intangibles he's brought to this team, means so much more to the team than just him playing defense at first base. If we can keep Alonso, Soto, and Lindor together for obviously Alonso will be the first one to end his career, but if those guys can stay together for the next 4 to 5 years and we can have that core there, I think it'll be really good for those young kids coming up. And you sent me a video of Licata and BT talking on the fan. And I agree. We both agree with Sal when we say this. We are possibly watching 3 of the best Mets to ever put on the uniform at the same exact time. Obviously, the franchise, Seaver, Piazza, Dwight, Doc, David, Jose, like all of those guys are great. But at the end of their careers, at the very end, we could be seeing the 3 best players to ever play for the Mets all at the same time. So to keep those guys together over the next 4 to 5 years would be something special. And I think Cohen knows that, and I think he's gonna wind up give Pete what he wants, especially if we have another playoff run like we did last year.
And I think you brought up a good point earlier when Pete could eventually become the everyday DH because what year was it? I mean, don't quote me. I want to say it was around 2019, 2020. when they put the DH in the NL. I think it
Well,
was right around that time.
his rookie year, that was, I think it was right. Wasn't it right after the COVID shortened season? Wasn't
So
it?
2020.
I think 2020 was the shortened season. I think 21.
Okay, so they put it in. So now, we brought up another guy. Who knows what could have happened if the DH was around in 13, 14, and 15 with David Wright?
Yeah.
It could have extended his career, or we've seen it before. Guys like David Ortiz made a career out of DHing.
Yep.
And if somebody like David Wright had that luxury where he could have just worked on his health and worried about hitting, who knows what could have happened? So,
And
we have the kids in the minors to come up and play first base.
And you look how it benefited superstars, not just on our team, of course, superstars across the league. One guy that it sticks out in my head that the reason why he went to the AL was Albert Pujols.
Yeah.
The Cardinals knew that contract wasn't going to pan out long term. He went to the AL. He wasn't able to play the field, but he was able to DH later in his career. A guy like Joe Mauer, who took a beating behind the plate at the beginning of his career, went to first and then was aging at first and was able to DH every day. So the opportunity to DH, I know some guys say that, like, oh, I don't feel like I'm in the game when I'm not on the field, but I think it'll be a positive for Pete as he gets older that we have that opportunity for him to DH every day.
Yeah, I mean, look at guys like the AL going back to the 90s. I said David Ortiz, but Edgar Martinez wouldn't have had a place on the field.
No, him and Big Poppy are the two like cornerstone DHs like in our generation. Like, yeah, like those two guys. When you think of DH, you think of Big Poppy and you think of Edgar.
Yeah.
So listen, I think Pete has every ability to DH every day. I think it would benefit him as he gets older. And I think that's something that the Mets are going to start to look at, especially like we said earlier in the episode, if his defense is going to become a liability as he gets older.
And it opens up a door for you, whether you want to bring in a free agent first baseman or bring up, if Clifford continues to progress and he
Yeah.
becomes the first baseman of the future. Now,
Hmm.
like you said, it lengthens the lineup and it gives you options. I was completely against the DH in the NL. I hated it.
Yeah.
And granted, since they put it in the NL, we haven't had one. But I think somebody like Pete is built to be a DH.
I think Pete's going to be our first true DH where we're like, okay, he's a DH every single day. Just let him
Yeah,
DH. So
right.
that'll be cool to see. So, Vin, we're just over the 35-minute mark. I think we're going to start to wrap it up now. Guys, thank you so much for watching episode 14 of the Shea podcast. Vin and I, like always, we want to thank you guys for the continuing support. Please make sure we give a thumbs up on this video on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Shoot over the TikTok. We're on all social media platforms. And like always, guys, let's go Mets.
LFGM.